Season 2, Episode 96 with Jarrod Kaplan. Watching, we got Aaron I in the chat, Bill H, Michael, Eric, PPG Lear, Deweese Milstead's in the house, and it looks like we are actually cruising for a bruising. Good, I'm glad everybody's here, and I'm going to try to make sure that I muted everything. All right, good deal. Welcome, everybody. My name is Sean Symons, also known as PPG Grandpa. Welcome to PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast. You can search for us anywhere for PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast. If you want to see us, make sure you go to ClearProp TV. Listen to us if you don't want to see our ugly mugs over on paratalk.org. Tonight, we got a special guest for you, which I will introduce to you in just a moment, full of interesting stories, and you won't believe some of the things that he's going to tell you tonight. But let me go ahead and introduce to you everybody that's on the panel. We got JP Tulo in the house, also known as TikTok Tulo. What you doing there, buddy? You TikToking?
Nothing much. Just happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here too, buddy.
Set up.
Hey, real quick, you are making videos on TikTok, right? You have had a couple million hits on one of them. Are you still doing as good as you were doing before?
It's really dropped off ever since that, to be honest with you. I get, a little spike here and there, but that little nut flick from that kitty cat was definitely my peak moment there, my claim to fame. But I still have fun with it. It's not all about the views. It's really, I like making stuff and then going back, a month's time, a year's time even, and going back and just being like, man, I remember that flight with Hay Bale, and I've got a real cool video with us. We do a tip touch and just doing some light acro, and it's just check out Brian's wallpaper there. That was a good flight, and it's just it's nice to reminisce. Brings back a very nostalgic feeling. Just putting together little video clips like that. I have fun with it.
Awesome. And you can always find him at jptulo.com or ppgtulo.com or ppgjp.com.
JP, yeah.
There we go. ppgjp.com or jptulo.com. Check his TikTok out. Sounds like it's awesome. We also got Brian Haybellwaller. He's our very famous person here. Brian, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us.
Hey man, I was glad to be here. Had some good flights, had some good experiences lately, and I'm looking forward to hearing Jarrod's story. Just in the little pre-show, I can tell that he's got a lot of good stories to tell for sure. I think we're going to learn something from him tonight. So
absolutely.
But check it out on ppgbrian.com. You can find my YouTube and watch my videos. I got a few training videos out there. I'm actually getting into the process of being an instructor myself. So there'll be some videos coming out about that soon, hopefully. But y'all check it out. Enjoy the show.
Absolutely. That's ppgbrian.com. We also got Jim from Canada, the money that smells like maple. I love it. So Jim, welcome to the show, buddy. I'm glad that you made it.
Glad to be here.
I'm telling you guys, if you don't know, you need to look up Canada or Canadian money smelling like maple. It's really cool. He actually showed us on here. We did the scratch and sniff over the screen. It smells like maple. It's absolutely amazing. Hey, Jim, you do a lot of printing for us. You did our calendars, and you do a lot of things for other people. Tell us a little bit about your printing shop and how we get up with you.
Sure, yeah. You can get in contact through carepp.com, and we can print pretty much anything for you. If you want ink on it, we can put it there, and we'd be happy to help you out. And if you're into paramotoring, well, you can go to careppg.com, and you can check out some of our videos and for Team Care Printing.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jim, for joining us. We definitely appreciate you, buddy. And thanks for helping out printing up those calendars that we gave away this last year. And also we got ParamoMusa.com. She's our Linda Anderson. She's our cheerleader.
Yes. Welcome, everybody. Oh my gosh. I so psyched about Mondays.
Mondays are awesome. Mondays are awesome. I mean, I wish I had some pom-poms so I could pom-pom with you.
I know. I'll send you some.
Okay. I will pom-pom with your pom-poms. All right, we can do that. Absolutely. If you want to be on this.
I hung on to these, these pom-poms from going to my Arizona Cardinals football games. You know, they give these out to everybody. And I just, as the years went on, I kept collecting them. And I'm like, there you go. So,
I didn't know they actually gave them away. I guess I should have went there and got some.
I know.
Oh, well, next time.
Very excited about being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, my chatters. Enjoy the show. We got an awesome guest tonight, Jarrod Kaplan.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And if you want to be on the show, just make sure you go over to ParamomUSA.com. That goes over to Linda Anderson's Facebook page. And then just say, hey, Linda, I want to be on the show. And we can get you on the show and we can chat around and talk about paramotors. I also got Will Fly, WillFlyPPG.com. Welcome to the show, buddy. And you put out some really amazing paramotor videos too, don't you?
I try to. I spent all day today, though, watching TikTok videos of parrots saying, "What the freak?" I don't know if you've seen that, but it's hilarious, man. Just parrots. What the freak? What the freak?
No, I haven't. Which one is that? What is this?
Just look for parrots saying, "What the," it comes right up. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy stuff. I got a short little flight in today, and it was just one of those flights that I've only had a handful of flights that I didn't particularly enjoy, but this is kind of one of them. And it was cold.
Well, we see on the screen right now, Will Fly. You can find him at Will Fly PPG. He has 5,500 subscribers, but look at the videos. 8,000, 11,000, 6,000, 10,000 views on each video. That's how well he does these videos. So if you haven't seen one of Will Fly's videos, please go over to willflyppg.com, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. You will not be disappointed. Thank you, Will, for being on the show, buddy. And of course, the whole reason why you're here, we got a guest for you tonight. His name is Jarrod. Jarrod has been flying for a while. Matter of fact, he's even got his instructor. Did you get your actual? You got your actual instructor?
Yeah, I got it 2 years ago at the longest foot drag in Kansas with Francesco De Santis.
Awesome.
Is this you, Jarrod? This first one?
Let's see. I don't know why I'm on the view on my Zoom right now. I've only got a single thing.
You probably can't see. I assume this is you, Jarrod Kaplan, PPG.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I put the link in the show notes down below. So if you wanted to check out his YouTube, make sure you go there and check it out. 63 subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. He's going to be putting up a lot of videos very soon, he said. But Jarrod, welcome to the show, buddy. And thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into paramotors?
Well, I've always been interested in flying. My dad, when I was very young, used to take me to Black's Beach in San Diego when he lived there, and we used to watch hang gliders fly. And he said, he wished he could fly, and I said, someday, Dad, I'm going to do that. And interestingly enough, last person I dated was a hang one, and for my birthday one year, she got me a Groupon to take a hang gliding class in Pacific City. And I got off the ground, maybe 8 feet off the ground on a 20-foot hang glider, and I was completely hooked. Like I was like, take my money, and my girlfriend talked me out of it because I was so busy at the time. There was no way I could just leave Eugene and go straight to the coast anytime the weather was good. And the learning curve is a lot greater, as you probably know, for hang gliding than it is for PPG. So I was getting ready to travel internationally to Thailand with my family, and my sister had never gone. So I was looking around for videos of Thailand, and I came across a video of people flying on Koh Phangan. And I immediately was like, that's what I want to do. So I waited till the end of the video, and they credited Blackhawk Paramotoring, probably for some of the gear or for the instruction. And I found out that they were only 8.5 hours south of where I live. So 2 weeks after I got back from Thailand, I was training. And there was at the time a great instructor named Joe Cruz. I don't know if any of you guys know Joe, but Joe got me up in the air in 5 days. I stayed 9 days. I flew 11 times and went home, kited like crazy, went back and got up the ground a whole bunch more, got home, put the paramotor back together. And then every flyable day I was in the air at home since then. So that was my start. And then over time, just from traveling with the paramotor and meeting a lot of other pilots, I've just learned a tremendous amount. And I really wanted to learn tandem to get friends up in the air. And that's kind of where my trajectory led me,
Awesome. So what do you fly right now? What's your gear?
Right now I fly a mini plane fixed frame with a 140 prop and a Luna 2. I've been flying a 20 meter and an 18 meter. But I went from 2 Velocity wings to a Roadster 3, like what you fly, I think, 24 meter. And then I made my transition to the Luna. And it's been smooth sailing ever since.
That's awesome. Now, what is your all-up weight?
All-up weight is, I think, just over 200, like 210. I'm at 150. And I think the mini plane dry weight is 43, maybe loaded 55, something like that. And I fly with a lap reserve. Okay.
Just curious, since you fly a lot, what kind of gas mileage do you get on that mini plane? You get pretty good, right?
Yeah, generally, I think some of the longer flights have been around 70 miles, typically we fly. I have one buddy that I fly with all the time, and we go usually for anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. That's our average flight. When we were just in Moab, we figured our average, the average mileage we covered is 52 to 56 miles a day per flight, I should say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's about what I do, is about 50 to 60 miles on my full tank, 5 gallons when I was bigger. So yeah, I love to travel a lot too. But you said, what, 90 miles in a day you could fly?
Well, I mean, in one flight, I think around 70 miles has been the longer flight average. Yeah, and where I fly in this neck of the woods. I mean, ultimately, if I'm not fighting a long headwind and I'm not diving a lot, then I get pretty good gas mileage on the mini plane.
Do you top off your tank? Like, is it 5 gallons, or what do you top off at?
Notoriously, I think the tank it's a 10-liter tank, and I fill it to the cap every single time. That's my thing.
That is awesome. Have you triked or anything ever before?
I do. I actually have a Power to Fly RS, a 2019 Moster, and I fly that when I do tandems, and also I have a Calibri trike that pairs with that. So I've flown that, and that unit I've run out of gas with, thinking I'm in mini plane mode.
Yes.
But luckily, nothing too catastrophic. I've landed in cow fields. I've landed, crazy, like half a mile short of my LZ, where I wind up throwing my wing on top of the trike and just walking it back to the LZ.
Well, I know that we've been talking a couple of times before in the past about trikes and PPCs and stuff like that. And a lot of people think that, once you move over to a trike like Brian Haybell, once you start triking, you don't want to go back to foot launch, because triking is so much more fun and you can fly, any time of the day. So what do you think about, since you do both, what do you think about triking, and what do you think about foot launch? What are the differences?
Well, for me, I mean, I'm all about foot launch. I mean, for me, the trike, I love doing touch and goes on the trike. I like, there's a lot of places that I fly in the Willamette Valley and the Coburg Valley where there are lots of roads with no power lines. So it's kind of fun to just get up, upwind, downwind, doesn't matter. Just, hit the road, cruise as long as I can, and then take off again. I have the Calibri trike, and I put a tandem front end on it, but I haven't flown tandem with it. And I recently did a hang test. And what I learned was it doesn't work, at least comfortably or safely, with a mini plane bar. Because the way the bar rests, it winds up, at least from my experience hang testing it lands on the passenger's shins. So I don't really feel comfortable with that. I was told by some other trike guys I met at Salton Sea that the best way to probably fly this trike tandem would be with some normal paragliding bars, as opposed to PPG bars where they're a little bit more spread apart. But I haven't done it yet. Although I've been talking a lot about soon, hopefully soon, getting myself a Power to Fly Phoenix trike to be able to do more commercial tandems with a passenger, or I should say just commercial tandems. But as far as the trike for me is, no wind. I mean, with the Luna and with my setup and with the terrain I've been taking off on, no wind has really not been a problem. So as far as needing wheels to take off easier, I know it is easier, but I prefer not having the bulk of a trike. I like doing light acro, and I like, wing overs comfortably, not as loaded as with the trike, with a bigger wing. So I don't know. For me, it's, they're both great, but they definitely have different timing, different uses,
Absolutely. Anybody on the panel have anything to say? Any questions in the chat or anything we need to address before we go on?
What's your favorite area to fly?
Say again?
What's your favorite area to fly?
It really depends on the season. I just got back from a trip in Moab, and I've never flown anything like that as far as just, being on another planet. We were staying, the last time I went last year, we stayed in 2 different LZs, one in a canyon and one in a big open plain. And this year we went back to the open plain LZ, and we found that because we had great weather, we could actually access every single thing that we did from the other LZ, from the same LZ. We just did longer flights. We flew through the Corona Arch 3 times. We flew all sorts of goalposts and Gemini bridges and hopping over canyon into canyon into canyon. So that, I think that's in the top 3 is Moab. I think my favorite, especially, seasonally, I go down to Nayarit in Mexico, around Sayulita, San Pancho, Lo de Marcos. I have a friend down there, Dan Dimov, who's a amazing pilot and instructor, tandem guy. And he's who I originally learned tandem from. And I spend a bunch of time down there. The beauty of it for me, for years, stay in a bungalow on the beach, step over my balcony, walk 300 feet down the beach, launch and fly 20 miles in either direction, skimming beaches, flying over multi-million-dollar houses, skimming in swimming pools, like epic terrain. Cloud base winds up being, 1,300 to 1,800 feet. And there are no rules about flying in clouds, in terms of cloud police aren't really an issue. Just being conscientious, stay below 4,000 feet because you could see the Puerto Vallarta airport over the mountains. But just the terrain is mind blowing. Being able to fly in warm weather in shorts and a t-shirt, land and have, tacos and margaritas and play music at night. It's like, there's nothing better for me at all. I just want to live that life,
Nice.
It's funny. Speaking of that, do you guys know Mike Milleron of Airtime PPG? I want to do a shout out to him. He's been a huge influence lifestyle wise for me recently. I've been hanging out with him. He's a full-time van lifer, PPG, paraglider, kiteboarder friend, 2 years older than me. I call him Para Santa Bear because he looks like Santa Claus and he's like a bear in the woods when he's picking huckleberries. But the guy just goes from the Northwest, spends the spring and summer in the Northwest, goes down to South Padre Island and does tandems and teaches down there. And then he goes to Baja, just chasing the good weather through the winter. And that's all he does. Just lives out of his van, does really well doing tandems and teaching. And it's definitely inspiring, to think about living that kind of life. For me, at least part of the year, But as far as favorite places to fly, long-winded answer to your question, I'm really lucky in where I live in Eugene, Oregon, to be able to have access to the Willamette Valley, the Lorain Valley, the Coburg Valley, because some of the places we launch are in an open valley with lots of space to run in any direction. To the east, we have the Coburg Range, which are some beautiful 3,000-foot mountains with all sorts of valleys and crevices. And then Flying to the west, we have the Willamette River. I posted a video of 17 miles flying up the Willamette River over all sorts of, just beautiful terrain and open farmers fields. There's lots of places to bail out, not a lot of power lines. And then, an hour from where I live, hour and a half, 15 minutes from where I live is also Florence Dunes in the Siltcoos Dunes Park, where it's an ATV park where you can legally take off and then fly the beach. I fly from Florence all the way down to Winchester Bay, which is another dune park, and then all the way up to Yachats, which is a pretty beautiful area on the coast as well. So I feel really lucky. So I can say my favorite place to fly is, my home terrain, the Northwest. But as far as specialty places, that I've been, summertime in Mexico or wintertime in Mexico, and the fall in Moab for sure.
Awesome. Eric in the chat, ericppglear.com, asked a question, said, what is the exact location in Moab you would recommend? We are going to be there through next spring without our gear. This trip will complete out a bucket list for places to fly. So where exactly in Moab would be a good place?
I would say if you want to know the LZ, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm happy if you send me a message on Facebook Messenger. I'm happy to send you a pin. But essentially, we were maybe a 25-minute drive from Gemini Bridges, and there is a small LZ at Gemini Bridges. It's not a camping spot, but you can park your vehicle there and launch. It's like a day use only. But when I was there, we launched there twice, and it was completely wide open. There were no cars. You could run in any direction, and the access to amazing terrain was super easy. Yeah. But there's lots of places you could launch. I mean, you can't go into the national parks, but you can fly on the periphery of the national parks out there, and the terrain is just all the same. It's epic. I mean, canyons, like Grand Canyon size canyons, all sorts of sand-blown mushroom-looking formations, lots of things like puzzle pieces or creme brulee or a giant, cattle jawbone of different color rocks on the tops of these cliffs. It's epic. It's just like it's hard to describe, because even watching the video, it's hard to fathom the scope, especially with the GoPro,
Absolutely. I've heard so many good things about Moab. That's one of the places that I would definitely like to go. Bill H in the chat said, what is your social media? We got the links down below in the show notes, and I think that JP could even show that information in here. I want to say thank you very much to Kent Stamey, dropped $10 in the super chat, said hello all. Welcome, Mr. Kent Stamey. You can find him at kentstamey.com. Who else do we have in the chat real quick? Aaron I, the Paramotor guy, Bill H, Eric, PPG Lear, Michael Flomer, Deweese Milstead, Will Fly is in there too. PPG, the other Nick, welcome guys. Randy Milstead's in the house. Mark Floyd's, the Van Lander, Mad Sloper. We got a lot of people doing a lot of talking. Definitely appreciate y'all chatting in here, asking questions. Definitely appreciate all that. Kevin Can Fly in the house. Will Fly, JP Tulo, Paramotor Girl, and of course Paramotor Girl. You can go to paramotorgirl.com. She is the one that will be having a Paramotor podcast on Wednesday. Let's see, who else do we have in the house? I think we got everybody's. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Anybody have any more questions for Jarrod in the chat or the panel?
Yeah, I have a question about which trike you fly.
Sure.
Do you have one that fits your mini plane, or do you have a dedicated trike, or what do you have on that wheel?
I have the Power to Fly Calibri trike, and I have a Power to Fly RS with a 2019 Moster on it, Moster 185. So that's what I've been mainly using for tandems when I need more power. I have done tandems on the mini plane as well, but usually with smaller pilots or smaller passengers. But the Calibri trike, when I first got it, I got it at the foot drag, at the endless foot drag. And I honestly, I wasn't thinking that I was ever going to get a trike, but he gave me a smoking deal on it and he included shipping. I was like, all right, I'll try it, you know? And it's pretty much paired with the RS frame. So it works really well. It just, you set it down, you clip it in, and it's like 10 minutes. So it's great as a foot launch trike. It's really sturdy, and I think it weighs about 30 pounds. So eventually I wanted to do tandem on it. I asked him if I could, and he said that I, could get a custom front end for it. So I spent the money, bought the front end. Pretty much it's the same front end with an extra set of pegs for the passenger. For my size at 5'8", it's a little bit tricky steering it. I think I need to drill another hole and pull the front wheel a little bit closer to me, because with the passenger, they put their legs up on the pegs, and the pegs for me are much wider. So it's harder for me to push, to turn, to do any extreme turns. So straight launch, no problem. My feet are on the pegs. But if I decided to work on it and get it dialed in for tandem, I'd probably drill another hole and pull the front wheel in a little bit more.
That's pretty sweet, man, that you can take people up, give them rides. That's kind of where I want to be in the near future. Two of my friends just got a new tandem trike, man, and they're just absolutely loving it.
Yeah.
And, that's got to be pretty cool to do, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm super stoked for that. I've done a lot of foot launch tandems, and it's great. But I've also, I've had all the mishaps that you classically hear about with, passengers, like you think they're out of their seat and they're not out of the seat, or you tell them, 10 times, what's the one thing you're not going to do when we take off? You're not going to jump, right? You're not going to jump into your seat. And sure enough, they jump into the seat. It gets sketchy. I've landed on the beach and fallen over my passenger, just crazy stuff. And I just love the idea of, with the trike, being able to just say, hey, click, 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 here's your selfie stick, sit down, here we go. Let's have fun, and not have to give the whole briefing. And, it's, I love it. It's still great being able to do it simply, lightweight, transport's easy, but the trike is just going to make it so much easier. And I could take up people who are older, who can't run. I could take up people who are heavier than me. When I did my certification, the heaviest passenger was my instructor, Steve Reed, who weighs 185, and he's, a foot taller than me. And that was definitely tricky, but, I was kind of spoiled because he, as, an instructor and a pilot himself who does tandems, he knew what to do. So, you don't have to tell him, like, hold the bar to your stomach and run like a stodgy Englishman, upright without leaning forward, because if you lean forward, you're going to be kicking me while you run. I didn't have to deal with that, so it was a trip. When I went to Mexico last time, foot launch tandems, I think I did 25 tandems in a week. I met so many incredible people, and the beach was fantastic. But I think at home, the trike's going to make it a lot easier. And, I'm transitioning out of my current business to try to, make, monetize flying a little bit more, teach a little bit more, and having the trike is going to be a huge part of that, I think. And I'm following, I don't know if Noah Rochetta is one of the guys you're talking about, has a friend who just got a trike. But I've been kind of following his lead. We're very much on the same page with gear and teaching and everything. And he just got the Phoenix trike with the Cosmo 300 on it. And I think I'm kind of following his lead. And I think that's what I'm going to wind up going with, because I'm familiar with Power to Fly already. And I like what they put out.
Yeah, I think these were Fly products. I could be wrong. Some beast of a tandem. Yeah, Brooke Sheffield and Derek Trout. Derek bought his through Tucker.
Those are great as well. I've taken a look at those as well. I think, equally as good.
It's a beast, man. I mean, he put a 250-pound person in the front of it. It's just roll straight up.
Yeah, it's cool. I have a BGD Dual as my glider now. And Noah's been flying the light, and the thing everybody always talks about with light gliders, that they come up so easy, And for me, when I was taking off foot launch, I'm taking off into some wind. Like trying to foot launch in no wind is it's hell. So it's nice. The idea of getting a lighter or smaller tandem wing than what I have is also appealing. And I'm thinking about the with a Cyclone. I think it's a Cyclone as well, like getting a 38. That'll just make it easier.
All right. Any other questions for the panel for Jarrod? Any questions that popped up in the chat?
Well,
All right.
I got one more question for you guys, because I've been seeing a lot of people ask this question on the paramotor groups, is that now that it's winter time, I don't know what it's like where you guys are flying, but what do you wear? People are saying, what do you use for powered, gloves or socks, or, are you wearing a, insulated flight suit? Where do you get these things? And I've been gearing people to go to, I wear a Carhartt Yukon insulated flight suit, like just not a flight suit, just what a coverall. And it works great. 2 pairs of thermals, heated gloves, wool socks, and a hat under my helmet. And sometimes if it's super freezing, wear like a fleece neck cover, face cover. And it's really not that bad. I can stay up in the air plenty long without freezing. But I just wonder what everybody else is doing.
Interesting that you just said that.
Yeah.
I'm in Alabama. I wore heated gloves today, and it was like 55 degrees outside. Jim is in Canada, so I'll let him.
55 degrees. But yeah, Jim. Yeah, Jim. Tell us about your Canada flight, buddy. Jim, you're on mute. Still on mute.
Well,
there
that'll help.
Yeah. Tell us about flying in Canada and what do you wear, because you're the one that we need to follow.
So I have a pair of cotton long johns or long underwear, and then I wear a wool undershirt.
Hey, hang on. Did you just say a para cotton?
Do you also use a pair of socks?
Everything's specialty in this sport, right?
Of course,
I know, right?
They're special. Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah.
I got them from iloveppg.com.
Ooh, I like that. What was that again? I love ppg.com. What was that?
Clear prop.
That's exactly where I get my pair of long johns and my pair of socks.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, so I wear a wool undershirt and then another cotton shirt and a sweater, like a sweatshirt. And then I wear a jacket on top of that. Not a really heavy jacket, but a wind blocking jacket. And last flight, I started with alpaca socks, and I'll tell you, they make a big difference. Really nice.
Cool.
And I've got a pair of -100 snow boots that's 100 Celsius. And those things are the warmest boots I've ever had. I tried them this time, but they really changed my thrust angle. It was a big difference. So I'm going to have to maybe change my hang point. Those boots are so heavy.
Oh, because they're so heavy, they change. Okay. I got you now. Well,
Yeah,
I guess didn't even think about that. The more stuff that you wear during the wintertime, it may change your hang point. Has anybody else come across that? That's the first time I even thought about that. Anybody else in the chat or the group here?
Is that a big deal?
I haven't had a problem with it up until I put these boots on. Once I put these boots on, and also switched to an E-prop, or not an E-prop, a carbon prop. So I lightened the back, and then I threw a bunch of weight on the front. And because they're the boots, they're way out in the front. I think that's part of why it's so different.
Interesting. How many people wear heated gloves and launch with the heated gloves on, or do you not, or do you launch barehanded and then put them on when you get up in the air?
I always set them.
How cold?
I get them warm before I put them on, and then adjust them in the air. I set them on the lowest setting just so the battery stays on. And then if I'm up in the air, particularly my throttle hand gets cold, So I punch that up 2 notches to red, and then I do the same on the other side. And if I have to use my phone while I fly or whatever, I usually just take off the outer layer. I have a liner on, and that I can still grab, the stylus pen or whatever, work my phone, then put it back on. But it definitely helps to keep them, warm all the time.
Yeah,
It takes some time to heat up,
I launch with gloves on, and I have no problems with that. Anybody else launch with gloves?
Yeah, every time.
Yeah. I have 2 layers of gloves. I got the electric gloves, and I leave them on pretty much all the time. And then I have wind blocking Cabela's gloves over top of it with the touch ability for your phone. And they work pretty good. But the cold transfers through the metal throttle into my fingers. So they don't block the cold that well.
Wow.
You get a metal throttle? I bet that does make a big difference. The first time I took off the gloves and I did a reverse, I dropped a brake toggle because of the loss of dexterity.
Yeah.
But now I've tried putting on the gloves. I had them in my pocket, and I'm up there flying. I was like, oh, my hands are cold. Let me put them on. Well, the throttle hand, you basically have to take the throttle off of your hand and then work the glove on and then put the throttle back on. So you got to have enough altitude that you just go into a glide, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like I never had enough altitude when I got in that situation. But I always take off with them on if I'm wearing them.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I have a buddy who doesn't like how bulky the heated gloves are. So what he does is he puts on a liner, and he has leather gloves as an outer shell, and he takes the chemical warming packs, and he starts one up before we get going. Once it's warm, he stuffs it on the back of his hand over the liner, puts the leather glove on, and that keeps some warmth in the glove. And then he flies that way, so his hand is unobstructed. I've tried it. It didn't really work for me. One of my instructors who suggested that said that because all the veins are on the top of your hand, the blood flow will, transfer the warmth to your fingers. Doesn't work for me. So I don't know. I kind of gotten used to putting up with the bulky gloves, and just the hardest part for me is the kill switch. If I want to come in, it's hard to kill it sometimes. So I have to put my hands together or kill it on my face, or just something to, so I have dexterity with the or I should say with lack of dexterity, be able to hit the kill switch with gloves on. Yeah.
I got these motion heat gloves, and they are like wearing a glove.
Oh, cool.
They're so you can see that there's no difference almost.
Fits like a glove.
You betcha. And then that's what this is, just like another light glove, and it just slips right over top.
So the liner is heated?
Pardon?
The liner itself is heated?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the heated glove right here.
Okay.
And then this is just a wind blocking shell that I got.
And
they're not the warmest.
This
one's from Cabela.
What's the other one from?
This is called Motion Heat, and it's a company out of Calgary, Alberta.
Okay.
But I believe they're in the States as well.
How long do the batteries typically last?
They say 8 hours.
Wow.
I've run out of battery, but that's because I didn't charge it a couple times before I was out.
Yeah, that's 8 hours. Even 2 hours would be great. I mean, for me, mine last an hour, maybe hour and a half, if they're on the lower setting, but an hour at best if they're in the high setting.
These will last no problem 2 hours on the high setting.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to get some, just when you go to Google and you do an Amazon search or whatever, Google heated glove liners versus heated gloves, and they're super thin, and there's a heater element that runs around the perimeter of each finger, keeping it nice and warm.
And tell me the name of that brand again, of that particular one.
This one is Motion Heat.
Motion Heat. Okay, I'll check that out. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Just be ready to spend a couple $100.
Yeah.
Or euro, or pound,
yeah.
wherever you're at.
I bought the Cabela ones were about $200, And those are the best for me in terms of how supple they are with the soft leather on the inside. But I bought a pair at Home Depot of the Milwaukee gloves because they were on sale. And honestly, they get warmer and the batteries last longer, but they're classically way too bulky. I hardly ever use them unless the other batteries are dead in my other ones. So it's nice to know about those.
These ones also have a system where you can put elements through your jacket.
Uh-huh.
So they got an extra plug-in right here, and then it goes right through your jacket, and you can.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I haven't got the jacket though.
Uh-huh.
I should.
Yeah. Hey man, where in Canada are you?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. Wow. Yeah, if it's that cold, you need it. I mean, especially if you're going to do longer flights.
I'm looking forward to new lows.
Uh-huh.
I'm still waiting on somebody to come out with a paramotor that's got an alternator built into it that can power all of our devices.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
I mean, our
That
heated
would be
gloves,
cool.
our cameras. I mean, how much crap electronics do we carry with us nowadays?
Yeah.
Some of us more than others, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to be possible.
I think it'll be great when we have electric paramotors that can do that, and we have solar fabric wings. So the solar fabric will power the motor, and it'll be quiet, and we can fly as long as we want, as long as the sun's shining.
You're going to build the first perpetual engine, in theory, right?
Oh, it'd be amazing. Yeah, I'm waiting. Somehow I lost video. Let's see.
So when you search for heated glove liners, where do you search? Do you search on Amazon or someplace else?
I found mine on Amazon.
Did you? Okay. I found a pair that was like $25. It wasn't the liners, it's the actual gloves. And they work great. The battery lasts for a couple hours on high. And I've had them for a couple of years. And, other than when it drops below freezing, they seem to be okay. And for $25, you really can't beat it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other cold weather gear information that we must know about, because it is getting colder out there?
Hey, Brian, that
Yo, man.
that is a thing on the EFI units. That they have an alternator on it and a battery pack to buffer. Mine was never set up like that, but it was a thing you could do. Is you could splice off the EFI battery pack that's used to fire the injector, and you could use that to supply all sorts of extra stuff.
Is that battery pack supplied power from the engine itself, or is it something you had to charge?
Say it again.
Was that battery pack powered by the engine itself when it ran, or was it something that you had to charge?
I would keep it charged. I would run it like on a trickle, but yeah, it had an alternator on the engine.
Okay.
And it's charging from the engine. I tried to not stress it too much, that's why I would trickle it beforehand, make sure it was up tip top shape. But a lot of people don't do that. It's not really necessary.
No, man, I want like a subwoofer, a boom box. I gotta have the big alternator on mine.
But yeah, it looks like an actual, just like a little RC motor, and it's wedged up against the belt, and it just spins it, and it's like wired backwards, that the belt speed, and it pumps voltage right back into the system. It's pretty slick, actually. I feel like we're right around the corner for some nice upgrades in tech in our engine world. I think Vitarazi, once they get a good handle on it, I think I don't know if it's like I know they were talking about releasing an EFI unit. I haven't heard much about it other than a while back when they said they won like a competition with it, a slalom competition, I think. But I'd really like to see some more increases in tech, not just electric paramotors, but more efficient internal combustion paramotors. I think that'd be awesome. So
yeah, agreed. Rather than have to get a bigger gas tank,
yeah, exactly.
Stay up in the air longer.
Just do better with, be more efficient with the fuel that we have. I think we can go a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, electric paramotors that have solar powered or solar panels in the wings. I mean, that sounds freaking amazing.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I
Well,
think Kevin Fly just nailed it in the chat. Said we need a lightweight 4-stroke engine that's super reliable. They're low maintenance. It's kind of a unicorn right now, but I think Sean's probably taking notes because I think he's wanting to design his own paramotor. And
yeah, we're definitely looking into building our own paramotors. A bunch of us guys got together and started theflightbrothers.com. We're going to try to get some new designs out there and try to trick out everything so every paramotor that comes out has everything instead of getting it separately or a la carte. So looking into it, it's a lot more difficult than I thought. The process is a lot. It's a lot. It's insane. It's stupid. But anyway, Jarrod.
Yes.
I know that Moab was one of your favorite places. How many states and countries have you flown in, and what is your most favorite other than Moab?
Well, I've flown in the United States primarily. I had an opportunity a couple years ago to fly in Canada, actually up very close to Lake Huron. And that was pretty mind blowing. I was staying at a place called Little Basswood Lake, and I was flying, I had been up there one time before and the terrain was beautiful, but I had no idea how many lakes were in the area until I got up in the air, and it just blew my mind. But just, flying over, Amish farms and long train tracks, deep in, between tall pine trees, and then hopping over to Lake Huron where the water is as smooth as glass and you could see clear down to all these formations under the water. Again, lots of people hanging out on their porches, out on the houses, all waving, and industrial sites to fly over. Gosh, that was just one of the best. I would say also in my top 3 up in Canada on Lake Huron. Let's see. As far as other places, I don't know. I dream, I the last couple years, I've been saying my bucket list. I have friends who've been to Iceland. So for me, it's Iceland, Costa Rica, and Bali, Indonesia are 3 places that I'm hoping within the next 2 years I'll get a chance to fly. They've just been places that I haven't visited Iceland, but I've been to Bali a couple times, and been to Costa Rica, and I know that there's a flying crew. I know Matt Minyard goes down there with a crew, and at some point maybe I figured I'd either join him or find out where he's flying. And then Iceland, of course, is like the paramotor dream. So I'm thinking at some point. I've looked at a couple of videos recently of people flying in Egypt over the pyramids, and that looks really appealing too. But half the things I read are, it was an amazing experience, and half the other stuff I read is, it was a really sketchy group I went through, or you're not sure if you're going to be able to rent gear that's reliable, or I don't know. I'd have to do more research to really find the right group to go with for a trip like that.
I'm guessing you've heard of One Up Adventures.
One Up, yeah, I think I have.
Okay, because what you're talking about doing is exactly what they cater to, people trying to fly in other countries. And I'm pretty sure Matt knows that whole crew too.
Okay.
So you might want to look up. They're in Lake Wales. They're located at the same airport that Aviator's at, and they do adventure flying. Travis Burns, Kyle Mooney. Those are the people at One Up Adventures. Reach out to them, man. They can help you fly any of those places. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love it. That's all bucket list stuff that I've been wanting to do. Even for me, last year I drove to Mexico. I have a toy hauler, and I drove it down. I went to the Salton Sea fly-in, came home, grabbed all my stuff, turned right back around 2 weeks later, drove 4 days down to, Puerto Vallarta area. I figured I was going to do that instead of dealing with trying to fly a paramotor. I mean, I don't know how Matt Minyard and Glenn Tupper do it, man, as far as getting away with flying with their motors and suitcases and not getting busted. I mean, I've been busted twice, trying to fly into Mexico where, I got extorted. I got hit for a huge fee the first time. Luckily, I was able to talk my way out of it. Second time, I got nailed for $160. And when I drove in last year, I drove through the border. I stopped 20 miles in past Nogales, and I got stopped by a custom agent who saw my paramotor in the truck and wanted $1,000 USD, saying, "Oh, the maximum you're allowed to travel with recreational gear in Mexico is $3,000. So I guess I'm going to have to charge you $1,000." And long story short, I talked her down to about half of that. And I figured, it was going to be worth it just to have the motor. And got to where I was going. I got stopped the second time, I got nailed for another $100. So it was $600 on the road in addition to gas, 4-day trip, but the idea of traveling with a group where it's already set up, where you have a motor or somehow your motor is shipped without hassle, is very appealing to me at the moment. This year going down to Mexico, I'm thinking about going down next month. And when I drove home last time, I brought my RS back with me, and I was doing tandems with it down there. And now I'm thinking, gosh, I almost wish I would have left it there and got something else here, because now the thought of trying to get it through customs again is just not that appealing. And so I'm trying to figure it out. But right before I jumped on with you guys, I was literally looking up FedEx and DSL and UPS and trying to figure out how am I going to afford to get my motor shipped to, Puerto Vallarta area and make it worth it. And I haven't figured that out. With Alaska Airlines, when I did bring the motor and wings, it was like $75 for every additional bag after the third one with the class that I flew and with the card I used. When I flew to that trip, when I went to Canada to Lake Huron area, I got nailed for $500 for the paramotor, $250 overweight, 8 pounds overweight, and $250 for oversized. It was in the mini plane soft case. And that one bag cost me more than the ticket to Chicago. So I had no other choice. So, hats off to Matt Minyard and those guys to be able to pull it off effectively. But man, I have not had that kind of luck.
So it sounds like you were extorted going north or south.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to somebody that wants to go fly in Mexico?
Well, as far as packing a motor, I would say you can do it. Like I said, I've done it twice, but expect to have to pay a customs fee. I think I just lost you. Oh, wow. Went to a weird screen.
Yeah, we're in a classroom.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, technically, when you travel into Mexico, they have a rule that basically says you're allowed to carry 2 pieces of sports equipment. Otherwise, if you carry more than 2 per person, they can charge you 16% of the total worth of your gear. And you might tell them, like what happened to me with, like, they said, how much is this paramotor worth, or this thing? And I said, about $1,000, because I figured I was going to have to pay, a fee, a percentage of that. And while I'm talking to the guy, another guy looks up mini plane, says, "Oh, this is what this is." He shows it to me on his phone. $5,700. Well, that's what it would cost in Mexico. So we're going to have to charge you 16% of that. And, half an hour later, after chatting back and forth, I talked him down. It's kind of a longer story. I got out of it in the end because the person who was walking me to the ATM didn't speak good English, and I didn't speak great Spanish at the time. And I basically told the guy, listen, if I'm going to give you, $400 cash, I want a receipt that shows that I paid this. And he was like, $200 receipt, or no receipt, $400, receipt. And I was like, no, that's not how this is going to work. I need a receipt to show that this, I paid, and that's not going to happen again. And the guy, just after going back 10 minutes back and forth, he couldn't get a hold of his boss, who was the one who sent me to the ATM with him. So he just said, you know what, you can go gratis. You might have a trouble getting back into Mexico again, but next time, but for now you can go. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And I just took off. And then when I went to go pick up my rental car, I told the guy the story and he was like, oh man, they were totally just trying to jack you, so it's good that you didn't pay it. But the second time when I did get nailed, he charged me 16% of $1,000. So he charged me, $160, and I did pay with a credit card, and I did sign it custom. So I knew at least that time it was legit, And the funny thing was, at that time, I literally only had 2 pieces of sports equipment. I had a mini plane and 1 wing, and I tried to tell him, and he was like, "Nope," he wouldn't let me go. So I paid it. So as far as my advice to anybody who wants to travel, at least into where I went through in Puerto Vallarta, just expect, if you have your motor in a bag that's not, if it's in a normal suitcase, say the way Minyard and Tupper did it, you might be able to get away with it. Mine was in a marked thing that said mini plane. It was a large case. And the other thing is I got nailed because I'm a guy coming from the US and I had like 6 bags. I had my normal luggage. I had 2 wings. I had, the motor and another suitcase that had, accessories, my helmet, my flight stuff. So, if they see you going through customs, even if you hit the green light, they're going to want to pull you over because you're one person with all these bags. So travel light, if you can pack your paramotor, pack it with your clothes and stuff all in it. Take 1 wing and just call it good, and you might get through.
What about if you fly your paramotor over the border? Is it different if you do that?
Well, that's what I was talking about. You mean like literally fly over the border? I don't know. I kind of joke, like if you really wanted to, you could make a killing being a paracoyote. We were on the way back driving. We were driving all along the ridiculous fence. And it was kind of creepy, just, how it's not just 1 fence, it's 2 with the no man's land in between. So it's kind of a sketchy thought to, if you went, black wing, black paramotor, doing it at night, maybe with a mini plane that's quieter or fly high altitude with no strobes, maybe you could do it, but I don't know. For guys who are living in Texas or along the border, to be able to fly and land somewhere and have somebody pick you up, hey, more power to you, man. That'd be great.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at. Go ahead.
Has anybody ever rented a paramotor?
I've never rented one. I've thought about that, particularly if I was going to go back to Indonesia, because I know that there's a club there. But honestly, I don't know about you guys, but all the videos I've seen of the guys who fly in Thailand, no offense, but it's like some of that equipment looks pretty janky, man. I don't know. If I'm going to fly over a volcano, I know I'm going to want to have a motor that I can trust. So I don't know. Haven't done it yet.
Okay. This year, for the Iceland trip, it's hosted by PPG School out of Regina, or out of Canada up here. And Aaron Hackle is going to be hosting that for Scout. So there's a bunch of us that are planning on going this year.
To Iceland?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome, man. What time of year?
I think he's got a multiple sessions all during the year, so you can choose if you go to the Scout web.
Ballpark price tag on something like that.
I don't remember exactly.
All inclusive.
$10,000, right?
Well, I don't think it was quite that much. It was like maybe 4 to 7, depending on what you do.
Wow, including airfare?
It might not include the airfare. You might have to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend. I should ask him about it. My friend Skylar just went a couple months ago, and he had a fantastic time.
Well, with that type of money, it's like, I think I'd rather just buy another paramotor or a couple wings.
Yeah, for that kind of money, for sure.
Yeah.
But
the
it's,
whole Eastern other side of the Mississippi River to explore too, and you can stay in the country.
Mm-hmm. There's even a package where you can buy a new Scout Paramotor and you get a big discount if you go there.
So you buy the Paramotor and take it home with you?
Yeah.
Wow, I wonder what the shipping is like on that, though. At the same time. It was funny. When I went with my Mexico trip, it was like getting into Mexico was the hellish part. Leaving, I left with 6 bags. They don't even question you coming back into the States. Nobody searched a thing. But going into Mexico is where they nail you. So I imagine, in a lot of countries when you're leaving to go in, that's probably what you got to be concerned about.
That is so interesting. I wonder, anybody in the chat, have you tried to leave the United States with your paramotor and had to deal with something that Jarrod just was talking about? I'm curious about that. Anyway, any more questions for Jarrod from the panel or anything that popped up in the chat?
I'm just curious because I hear everybody talk about going to Mexico to fly, and there's one reason behind it. Usually, is they want to fly at night with a full moon, and in Mexico, I've been told we can do that legally there. Is that something you've looked into while you were there, or do you know anything about it?
I have a friend who recently flew by a full moon. The way to do it, and I tried to do it in Moab. It didn't really work from with the terrain and the conditions we were flying in. But in Mexico, the way to do it, from what I'm told, is to fly before the sun gets up. So if the moon's high in the sky, you take off in the morning, and then you fly. Then the sun comes up, and then you can see the beach pretty clearly. I have actually gotten stuck flying in the dark, like pitch dark, in Mexico. And the thing is, if the moon is out, the beauty of it is the sand is pretty white, so you get enough reflection that you can kind of see where you are, and there's no power lines or obstructions on the beaches. Luckily, at the time when I was there, the guy who was in front of me had strobes on, so I was kind of following him over the land. And then oddly enough, Dan Dimov was living on what used to be a private airport. So when he found out what was going on, his daughter flipped the lights on, and we actually had a lit LZ to land in. So we were super lucky because it was freaking dark. But I don't know. I mean, as far as, the classic thing is the same as it is here. It's always about, no matter what the rules, it's always who's complaining, right? So it's like the idea of flying over a congested area. It's like, what's congested? It's a gray area. It could be one person who's complaining. So it's, there, if you don't piss anybody off, you take off on the beach, and there's vacation homes. And, if somebody's upset with that you're taking off, waking them up to go fly on a full moon, you might have a problem. But, if not, then yeah, I mean, it's nobody legally, you're not going to get in trouble, but they could always find a way to get you, if they want to get you in trouble, especially being from another country, not native, they could nail you.
Hey, that's going to cost you $1,000 for flying at night right there, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you're in Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned seeing the ground and the reflectivity. I'm guessing depth perception might have been the issue, seeing how far you were above the ground.
Yeah, essentially it's that. It's, ideally also obstructions. I mean, that's why typically we don't fly in the dark, right? I mean, it's amazing. So you want to be able to gauge your distance to the ground. In particular places, you want to absolutely make sure you're not going to run into power lines or obstructions you just can't see. But on the beach, if there's a nice wide beach and it's, there's moonlight, you can usually see the sea foam on the tide, and you can see the beach enough. Your eyes do acclimate. It just takes some time, But yeah, I mean, that's one of the perks. I haven't done it yet, but if I'm going to be there, as long as I'm hoping to be there this winter, then yeah, I'll probably try it at some point.
Has anybody flown half an hour after sunset and landed right at that 30-minute mark, and then looked around and is like, I don't even know how I can get my paramotor, my wing put together and leave. That's one of the reasons why I don't fly that late, is because you just can't see to pack up. Anybody else have that issue? Or does anybody fly that late?
Yeah, just the other night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What happened, Will?
Well, I mean, it's just as you said. I mean, it's pitch black. It's amazing how dark it is and how lenient our regulations let us fly. But I've got a good strobe light that also turns into just a regular flashlight type thing. So I've got plenty of light. But it's the landing that always throws me off. The flare, the difference in perception, and
Yeah.
every freaking time, man. Even though I know it's coming, it's freaky,
Yeah, it's totally freaky. I mean, I'm in Mexico. My unit has PPG lights on it, so it's kind of like a disco party. If it's dark, I leave it on, all the kids start running over and trying to talk to me, and it's pretty fun. The issue for me more so, honestly, at landing at dark, like you can see, but the issue isn't not being able to pack up because you can't see. It's because everything gets wet. Usually it's just everything is so humid that you're packing a wet wing, and that's kind of a drag. So for me, when I'm there, usually my protocol is I pack it up, I load it out, and when I get back to camp, I open up the bag, and first thing in the morning when it starts getting warm, I just lay the whole wing out. I shake the sand out of it. I have a little toothbrush that I use to get the sand out of my magnets and just kind of kite the wing and just get it crispy again. But that's typical. Like after sunset, especially like I was mentioning, the beauty of it there at times, if the season is right, it's like clockwork. Every sunset, you get this marine layer that comes in, and it's epic to fly at sunset. You're flying, all the tops of the clouds are turning pink and curling, and you're flying through all these amazing channels, but it's humid, so you land on the beach and your wing is definitely damp. So that's kind of the protocol is, in the morning, just lay it out or kite it to get it crispy again.
There's a benefit to that too. I mean, I don't know, I'm sure this has happened to you, but many, many times I have landed, plenty of light and everything. And then I see the most beautiful freaking sunset. Oh man, that would be beautiful to be up there,
Totally.
But that by that time, no, man, I'm done. But
yep.
I did have a question, Sean, that I wanted to ask Jarrod.
Sure.
If it doesn't kill us, it makes us stronger, right? So you have any like the scariest learning type experience from all of your travels?
Yep. Well, as far as flying, you mean, or actually flying? Flying, I can say one of the things that scared the bleep out of me last year was, it's funny to tell this story this way. It's like my first 2 years of paramotoring, I kind of joke that I was a master at zero pendulum. Like I didn't swing left or right. I had great throttle control. I didn't, porpoise at all. I was like super, super conservative. And then, what got me started learning wing overs and rolls was in Mexico, actually, flying down the beach in laminar wind, swinging back and forth a little bit at a time, and doing passes up and down the beach. The funny part of the story was, when I got really excited about it, I did 4 passes up and down Sayulita Beach. And by the end, I had motion sickness. I was like nauseous. I didn't even know that would happen to me, But I wound up, over the course of about a week in practicing, I started getting over it. And I always used to say at that point, I love getting horizontal. I love, I want to learn like slalom-like turns because I like being sideways, but I have no desire at all whatsoever to go upside down ever, And I can say in the last 18 months, learning barrel rolls, I'm obsessed with it, So now, and of course my paragliding instructor with everything would say to me, I'd be like, yeah, Kevin, I just got a smaller wing. And he goes, of course you did. I was like, and now I'm really obsessed with flying upside down. He goes, of course you are, like just that evolution of like being really conservative and then baby steps, learning a little bit more and becoming more and more confident, over time. But anyway, so my story goes, last year, I started really getting into barrel rolls, and I started learning how to do it in Mexico. And I got myself, after the Salton Sea, I got myself my Luna 18. I'd been flying a 20 for just over a year. And I was playing around doing much bigger wing overs, and I decided to go for it. And I'd say maybe my third or fourth attempt at a barrel roll, I wound up, the scariest thing, as far as answering your question, was I wound up maybe 1,000 or 800 feet above the beach, where my friends were kiting down below, and I had, lots of people I knew down there who were watching me. I wound up in a face down spiral, like a death spiral, and I did 2 rotations so fast it scared the crap out of me. And I lucked out because I had one of those oh crap moments where I pulled right. I did a right barrel roll, and I had a brain fart, and I was like trying to get out of it, but I kept pulling right. So I kind of locked myself into it, and I'm pulling. And at that moment, in that split second, time slows down. I look at my reserve handle. I look at the power lines in the houses down below me, and know my friends are on the beach, and all the stuff that's crossing my mind, like, well, if I survive this, it's going to be really embarrassing, and I'm going to wind up in a freaking power line or in a house down there, and it's going to be a mess. And I did one last ditch effort, and for whatever happened, my left hand yanked, and I pulled out of it, and I spun away, and I was in this state of shock and kind of denial, had been up in the air 10 minutes, and what was going to be like a 2-hour plus flight. And I just told myself, I didn't want to think about it. I was just like, okay, I'm not going to think about this. I'm just going to be really careful on this flight now. This was the sign, but what I learned from that experience in practicing was, from that point on, anytime I tried a barrel roll, I would say out loud or mark in my head, like actually say to myself, pull right, counter left, or pull left, counter right. Like I'd say it. So I knew that I was completely focused, and I was very present with what I was about to do, because that was what scared me. Was in that moment, like I said, I had a blank spot. I was really excited. I did what I did, and I wasn't thinking about how to follow through. And that's why it was so scary and so dangerous. So that's the long story.
And have you ever done the SIV course?
I have. I did an SIV actually 2 years ago in Yalapa with Fabul Herrera. And I didn't do any acro maneuvers, but I did all this, classic stalls and spins. And, regarding that, everybody thinks that the scariest thing you're going to do is a stall, like you're going to collapse the wing and you're going to free fall, and you're going to have your stomach in your throat, and it's a scary roller coaster experience. For me, it wasn't like that. The stall was not the scariest maneuver. The stall was like, I didn't ever feel like I was in free fall. I mean, I was on an A wing in the class, and I felt like I was getting jostled around. I twisted a little bit and I corrected, but it would happen so fast. I never got that lump in the throat kind of feeling. The scariest thing that happened was the face down spiral and all the G that I felt. Because at one point, and there's a video, if you look up on my site, there's like 2 videos, and there's a spin. The second one I did was an accident. I was supposed to do a reverse, he called it, where you collapse, say, the right side, and you get that sense that you're turning backwards. That's why they call it a reverse. It's basically you're just collapsing one side of the wing with the brake. And what happened was, I wasn't familiar with the maneuver, and I wasn't clear on what Fabul was telling me. So instead of pulling quickly and popping the wing, I pulled slowly, and I kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in the spiral. And I was really upset because Fabul didn't say anything, but I was until after the fact, when I let go of it myself. But what happened was, I felt so much G that I literally felt my eyes starting to close, and I yelled at the top of my lungs. And it's kind of funny to watch now in the video, but I let it out, and I I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And he gets on the radio, goes, "So, Jarrod, that was a really good example of a spin, but I need to see a negative. So set up and do it again." And I was like, "Oh my God," So he basically told me, grab the riser, pull hard, fast. So that's what I did. And I wound up completing the maneuver. But that was my SIV experience. I mean, I did all the things we need. Actually, it's funny. I have the certificate right here. I keep it in my window. But now, as far as SIV and having really gotten into the barrel roll thing, I've been hanging out with an amazing instructor, paragliding instructor. And I've had this great experience with him. His name is Harrison Ruffin from Astro PPG in Bend, Oregon. And he's an acro pilot. And he does free kiting clinics at Cape Kiwanda on the coast in the summertime. And I signed up for one of his clinics because I wanted to learn how to do ground helis. And just from hanging out with him and all the things that I've learned, I kind of call what we do at some points in high winds Kung Fu kiting, because it's really fun to do on my BG. I have a BGDC to a kiting wing. And it's gotten really fun to throw the thing side to side, wingtip touching back and forth to the point where you literally jump off the ground and, grab the lines and come down. So you're kind of like flying down the beach in this kind of martial artsy kind of way. But Harrison's got me, really interested in potentially doing some more acro stuff. I've been wanting to learn SATs forever. And, when I watch people do them, like if you watch Tucker Gott do it or Judson or, all these guys, they make it look so easy and so benign. And that's what most people who do them say it is. But it's one of those things that I want to learn in SIV. So that's one of my plans for the spring is to hook up with Harrison, really get into doing a lot more stalls and getting comfortable in face down spirals and, doing all the prep work to do it comfortably and really, really conscientiously and safely. So that's my trajectory, I think.
Interesting.
How do you ease in? You're talking about easing into things. So for a barrel roll example, as an example, how would you ease in to learning how to do a barrel roll? I mean, at some point, it's got to happen. So I guess how do you do that?
For me, it was just like I started out, like I said, in Mexico, and laminar wind was very predictable. I started just swinging back and forth. And then at one point I was like, okay, I got my swings up pretty high. I'm going to turn around when I do it. So you get to the top and you make sure you're feeling brake and you make your turn. So you start getting into doing wing overs. And then once you have wing overs big, the way I kind of, went for it was at the top of the wing over, if you have a lot of momentum, let's say I'm doing a wing over to the left, or I want to do a barrel roll to the left. I'd pull left, add a little bit of throttle, and make sure that the wing is completely loaded. And then as I get to the top, make sure I'm holding my right enough that it's not going to release. And then before you know it, you're all the way around. And what it's all about really is managing the energy coming out of it. So what winds up most of the time happening to me, or I should say all the time, well, most of the time, is you make the turn, you flip over, and you wind up in a spiral. So it's just a matter of tapering off the energy in a spiral. So a lot of times I wind up doing one full turn and then coming out, going in, and I'm straight again. So it's just a matter of doing them up high, especially on a smaller wing, because, you wind up losing a lot more altitude than you might think you would. I've done it where I wound up not managing the energy well enough, and I'm winding up face down, and I'm not spiraling, but I'm diving, So it's just a matter of feeling your wing loading with your hands and weight shifting and get to manage getting out of the turn, or out of the dive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's actually a really good video. Judson had I don't know if he made it in a video or he had a commentary where he discussed the process really step by step, similar to what I did, probably better than what I did in terms of how to go through the motions. But it is one of those things that is, once you get to big wing overs, like you said, it's not that much more to just go for it. Add a little bit of throttle, push yourself over, and then manage it coming out.
Absolutely. Hey, Jarrod, real quick, JP's got to go, but he's going to do a screenshot for us. So let's do a thumbnail,
Okay.
thumbs up or cheese or pom-poms or whatever you want to do. JP, let us know when you're going to give us a snapshot.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese. Excellent.
Good deal.
Oh, that looked really good. Usually everybody's like
Yay.
moving. You guys did good on that. Everybody stayed either that or my screen froze.
Your screen froze perfectly at the right time.
Yeah. So,
All right,
Thanks,
JP.
JP.
Yeah, thank you, JP, for hanging out with us. Appreciate you, buddy.
Love you, man.
oh, always a pleasure. I will catch you guys on the next one.
Right on, man.
Sounds good, bud. Thanks, JP.
Take care, man. Peace out.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody else need to go? I mean, my goodness, we're at it's 8:21 p.m. We've been talking for almost an hour and a half. Holy smokes.
Wow. Cool.
We've been rolling tonight. Anybody else got to go, or can we still chat for a little bit, or what?
I got a few more minutes.
Yeah, I got a little bit more. It's 6:21 where I am, so it's not quite. It's getting around dinner time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jarrod, I just gotta say, man, I feel like I'm kind of right there where you were with the wing overs at this point, and I haven't fully done a barrel roll yet, committed to it. I've seen my shadow about the midpoint of the wing in the late afternoons, and there's sometimes when I pull that last wing over, I just kind of go around and do kind of a dive, and then come out of it, try to manage the energy. I feel like I'm so close to like getting to where I want to be.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for me?
I would say just know that, you see a lot of pictures of barrel rolls, and with an Insta360, when I fly, it's so easy to kind of realize that you could manipulate it to make it look like you're really upside down, relative to the horizon. But the fact is, actually my friend Kevin mentioned a lot of times barrel rolls, you're not necessarily upside down, like feet to the sky. You're just going all the way around and you're at an angle. So what's going to happen is as you start to learn, that's what it's going to be. You're pretty much just looping around. And then over time, I think the funnest and safest times I'm doing barrel rolls are when there's a lot of wind and I'm either going upwind and my wing is completely loaded and I have enough. If you give yourself enough momentum to swing and get around upwind, or if you're flying very fast downwind and you're up high, doing a barrel roll is actually really easy because you just pull and you have so much momentum and your wing is so loaded, you just wind up going around with hardly any effort. At least that's my experience. But the key thing I would say is just make sure that you're always feeling the wing. Because the main thing that can happen, and I have wing tip deflations all the time doing it. And I, with my 18 particularly, I feel most safe because I know that wing's even more loaded than my 20 when I do it. But if you feel a little deflation, it's not that big of a deal. A lot of times it'll pop right back open. But it's really all about making sure you're feeling your, particularly the outer tip. So if you're pulling right to go, make sure you've got some pressure in the left. You know what I mean? And vice versa. And just and also say again.
How heavy are you loaded on your wing?
I'm pretty much on the 18. It's funny because the 18 is rated the same weight rating as the 20, and I'm about in the middle of the range, I think, on the Luna. I haven't done barrel rolls on my Roadster 24. I just feel like it's almost too much energy for me to manage. I'm sure it can be done, but I have had a frontal doing wing overs on the Roadster, so I kind of got freaked out by that. Yeah, that's kind of it's kind of a stupid story in terms of newbie mentality. I could tell. The one time I had that catastrophic, scary frontal was, asymmetric frontal. I'll tell this story, and it's not really PC, but it's kind of ridiculous. It's ultimately me being the worst stupid you can be in terms of not thinking ahead. But for my first 2 years, I didn't fly with a reserve. I just never thought that I would need one at the time. Like I said, I was a master of zero pendulum. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to be in any condition where I'm going to need a reserve. I'm not doing anything scary. So didn't think about it. And then my buddy Ryan, who I helped get started, he wound up training with the same guy I did. He had been a hang glider. So he always just felt more comfortable flying with a reserve. The issue for me with Ryan was Ryan is 15 pounds heavier than me. We had the exact same mini plane, exact same roadster, right? What wound up happening was I got tired of following Ryan all the time. He was always 5 miles an hour faster than me on the same gear because he's heavier. So, and he's flying with a reserve. So, so I was like, I'm going to buy myself a reserve. I buy the reserve, took it out of the package, didn't even think about how to hook it up. What I did was when we got out to the field, I threw the damn thing under my seat as a weight. I didn't even think I was going to need it. And it was that very flight. We flew into the late morning in the Lorraine Valley, and we were on our way back from like a 2-hour flight to Fern Ridge Reservoir. It was an epic flight, and I'm up high, and I'm flying over a friend's house, and he's down below, and there's a cannabis farm right next door, right? So we're like checking out all the weed, everything's, it was just this fun flight, and I decide I'm going to bank a turn flying over my friend Tim's house. So I bank a turn. I smack right into thermal air and I get this frontal. And I was on my tips, actually. I was in reflex mode. I was on my tips instead of on my brakes. So I make this right turn and I get a full-on asymmetric frontal. I swear I dropped at least 150 feet. I'm screaming into the mic, to Ryan, oh, I got a frontal, I got a collapse, So he's like, are you all right? Are you all right? And I'm falling. Next thing I know, it pops out. I did the right thing. I leaned in the direction of the side of the wing that was flying, and it popped out, and I flew out. I flew away like 50 feet over the tree line. And the lesson in that was, if you're carrying a freaking reserve, put it on, and the other thing is the other thing was, hang on a second. The other thing was at the time was don't bank any huge turns, without using my brakes and feeling pressure in thermal air, so that was the lesson learned. So ever since then, and that was a year into flying, I'm flying, almost over 6 years now. I haven't flown without a reserve since. And my flying has become a lot more aggressive, but I feel a lot more comfortable with a reserve. So why did I get into telling you that story? I don't even know. But that was kind of a crazy one. That was one of those, 101 stupid things to do. It's like the one time I had a frontal, I had a reserve, and it wasn't connected. It's just stupid.
Well, I was curious because I'm on a Spider 26 meter. And after I added the retractor track wheels and put on a few pounds, I'm basically 100% loaded on my wing. I was 101% loaded when I added the retractor track. I was scared to fly it. After talking to some people, I flew it and I'm flying it and I love it. It's very dynamic, but and that wing feels like it wants to come around. It's a big wing.
Yeah.
But anyway,
with the Tricon or without the Tricon? Like if you wanted to try. When you're doing big wing overs, are you wearing the trike or no?
Yeah, okay. I am. Yeah, so it's the retractor trike. It only weighs 21 pounds. So, as soon as I take off, the front wheel comes underneath, and it's basically just like a foot launch unit at that point, as far as weight shift and whatnot.
Right.
So it doesn't. I can't tell that it has a significant impact on the dynamics of how it flies, basically, from foot launching, but. It was just enough additional weight that I had to change my hang point.
Yeah. Well, I would say if you're going to try, like I said, with a barrel roll, it's like, make sure you have altitude, feel your brakes, and, don't be so concerned about going full on upside down at first. If you go all the way around, technically that's a roll. And gradually you'll get more and more comfortable, going all the way around more vertical. But yeah, it's, like I tell people who ask me about the same thing, it's like baby steps, like, do it when you're present of mind and you know what you're doing and the conditions are good, that's what I would tell anybody regarding flying about anything. It's like, you really have to be present. And if you're going to take risks, take calculated risks, know what you're going to do. Like, I see a lot of people recklessly flying or talking about flying so recklessly. And honestly, as an instructor at this point, I can't help but criticize, like, come on, we get into arguments about being an ambassador for the sport or, just the reputation of people flying. It's about, to me, just about being conscientious with other people and yourself and what you're doing. Because all these things, it's like you see people doing mind-blowing tricks and all this incredible flying and diving and skimming and, wingtip touching on the ground and all that. And it's not, if you're doing it intentionally and you have developed the skills over time, in my opinion, then hey man, more power to you. It's really fun to watch. There's certain things I have no desire to do at this point, but that, as I said, and I joked earlier, that could change over time. The more confident you become and the more skills you legitimately achieve, I think it just it's part of the process.
You know where I am on wing overs. I can do what I consider, decent wing overs. I'll start small, oscillations back and forth, and I get it going really good. But I get to one of them and I'm like, man, I know what's coming. I got a lot of freaking energy. And if I start coming back, so how would it be better at that point to come back and then just kind of go into a turn to dissipate the energy, or use, counter it with a little break? Or
so you're saying, like, if you're at the top of a wing over?
You're at the top of a wing over, but you've been, they've been progressively getting bigger and bigger. And then it's that one where, okay, I'm not comfortable anymore because I know that I've got all this energy coming back.
Well, that is the point. That's where it's like, okay, if you've got a lot of energy and you're about to swing up and you could go over, that's the point where you just commit, like, I'm holding it. And, you can add a little bit of throttle to actually increase the push in your loading. But the main thing at that point is, like with wing overs, you always have to watch that outer brake, because that's what'll get you. That's where the collapse will happen when it goes weak. So if you're pulling hard and you've got a lot of pressure on your right, say going right, make sure your left hand is still feeling pressure. There are times when I do barrel rolls on the smaller wing where honestly it almost feels like I have equal pressure in both as I'm going over. It's like it just becomes second nature to feel that tension, so it's equal or it's even. So as you go over, it's like pull, more pressure, release. You just go around, but you just want to make sure you're holding the wing, so it doesn't have the chance to release. At least that's my experience.
And here's something else too, Will. Try this before you start doing wing overs. Do yourself a 360, right? So, do yourself a 360, but as you're doing your 360, pull both of your brakes in at the same time, and you'll feel yourself doing a 360 spiral a lot quicker. And that's the way to do it when you're doing that 360 is you pull both the brakes. Now, when you're doing your wing over, feel both the brakes also. You'll be able to feel that, you'll be able to feel it a little bit on both of your brakes when you're doing your wing over or barrel roll.
Yeah.
So you're trying to keep any slack from on the outside wing. You don't want any slack in the lines.
Right. Weight shift is also really important. That's, from free flying recently, that's one of the things that I'm really having to relearn. Because at this point, I honestly don't feel as comfortable doing wing overs without the motor as I do with the motor. Because with the motor, you have the crutch of being able to throttle up and add a little bit of loading to your wing. Whereas without the motor, so much is about timing. They say that small wing overs and large wing overs are not the problem in terms of the danger. It's the medium wing overs where you don't have enough pressure or enough momentum to complete the maneuver. So, you know, what I was told is if you want to learn wing overs without the motor, you should learn to swing and do them without using your brakes. Just really work on your weight shift and get the timing drilled into your physical body so it's second nature where you're weight shifting naturally. And I think it goes the same with the motor wing overs. It's like when you lean in and you know to get your momentum going, it definitely helps, you know, everything just kind of feels more natural. I think at least that's how I see it. So weight shift definitely plays a role. That helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Like I said, you're always learning, right? Like it's funny because as I'm teaching more, I'm also having to rethink how to communicate these things because I fly way more than I teach, and so many things just become second nature, and then you have to kind of recalculate how to express those things, you know, to transmit the energy or I should say, make it understandable to somebody else.
Exactly. That's like trying to explain how to walk correctly. It's like, I've been walking forever now. Yeah. Let me try to figure out how to tell you how to walk. Right. It's kind of difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's great. I feel like teaching is making me a better pilot as well, because it's making me really have to think through and articulate every single movement and motion, you know, and it just makes me that much more conscientious when I fly. So it's good.
So now three things. One is, teacher learns the lesson the best, right? And two is you're doing an awesome job, you know, articulating, explaining it. So that's awesome. Cool. And then I guess number three is I need to take the reserve out of my car and put it on my paramotor.
Yeah. That's a good idea, especially if you're going to be practicing wing overs.
Are you serious, Will, or are you just joking?
I'm dead serious.
Wow.
When I first got it, that's where I put it, and that's where it is today.
Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah. Real quick. How many people here on the panel, the 6 people here, how many people fly with the reserve? How many people have a reserve and don't use it?
Raise her hand.
How about in the chat? You guys that are still in the chat, I definitely appreciate you still hanging out with us. Do you fly with the reserve, or do you have a reserve and just use it as a weight, or are you still flying without a reserve? Let us know in the chat, because that's pretty interesting. We got 18 likes, 21 viewers. We appreciate any thumbs up, or if you don't like it, thumbs down. It's all good metrics. I don't really care. So
there you go.
I was mad at Aviator. They didn't let us have reserves during training, but we were students. They explained it to us, and it makes sense. But when I left training with 26 flights in my own gear, I had a reserve on from that flight on.
Yeah.
But
I need to get a reserve. I'm thinking that I need to get a new harness to go with the reserve, because I've got this Kanguk reserve, and I'm going to have to string it all through, and it's not the most comfortable harness. So I was thinking of getting one from Scout and and then they'll install the reserve right there at the factory and do all that. So, but it still takes time to get it all. I should probably just do it and get it and do it myself.
Well, the question is, do you want a side mount reserve or a lap reserve?
I was just thinking that. It's like there's the lap reserve, you know, that you can just put on. You can put on any harness that you fly.
Yeah.
Any motor that you fly.
4 clips and you're done. It's so quick.
My thought is if you're going to be doing barrel rolls and stuff, you probably need both. You know, I was talking to Kyle Mooney, and I think he flew with 3 reserves when I met him.
Yeah.
But he's up there doing an infinite tumble.
Yeah. Acro pilots always, I think good acro pilots who are serious are always carrying at least 2. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely fly with reserve every time. But the thing is, most of them are rated to not really open and deploy properly unless you're like 500 feet or above.
Right.
most of my flying is rarely above 500 feet. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
all about low profile flying, but having it there gives me some peace of mind. So, you know, there's something for that.
Well, if you're going to do big wingovers or barrel rolls, I personally would recommend you get up, you know, over 1,000 feet. That's because general, like you said, if you're going to do a maneuver where you're going to drop that quickly, you know, and it needs 600 feet to open safely, then you want to be able to have that thing opening at 600 or around there, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, it makes sense, honestly. When I was training as well, I didn't use a reserve either because it's kind of bulky. It's in the way. And a lot of times, you know, from my perception, with the exception of just getting up, holding a throttle, you know, most of the students, once you're off the ground, you're not going to do anything crazy. So if anything, you're just going to float down or accidentally kill the motor or, you know, something like that. It's not going to be like you're going to need a reserve deployed. Yeah,
and as an instructor, you're going to keep them in that safety bubble as well. You're not going to send them up in turbulent conditions and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, a lot of times when I was training the instructor, if the air was even the slightest bit questionable, he'd go up for like 5 minutes and just test the air for us. You know,
that's me now. I'm the wind dummy. It's a good job to have.
Yeah.
Bill H says one and he flies with one. Deweese Mills said I don't have a reserve yet. The Van Lander said ordered one, think will be here in 2023. Mark H, that's the PPG trike jockey, says you got a reserve. PPG Lear says fly with a reserve every flight. Gary Collins, fly with a reserve. And Bill H said lap reserve.
Yeah.
And also too, you know, you have the round reserve and you got steerable. So who has round and who has steerable?
I think mine's a round reserve. It's not a steerable reserve. I've heard different things about the steerable reserves, you know, that they're effective or not that effective, or, you know, thinking about how much time you're going to have to get down, or that, you know, some people think it's not that important. You know, all it's really about is getting down comfortably, you know, so you don't hit the ground too hard. I don't know though. I mean, the idea of having a steerable reserve in my mind theoretically is definitely better.
Yeah, I don't know if it's better or not, but I did get a steerable only because there's power lines, there's trees, and if I can steer myself away from trees, away from power lines, and land where I can also flare,
right?
That sounds a lot better than, you know, tuck and roll on the round ones. But that's just me. And
can you do the steerable ones on your lap?
that's what I got. Yeah, the lap one. That way I can have it on anything I fly.
Cool. Yeah, I like with mine. I like that it has the flight deck right on top, like this big sheet of Velcro. So yes. I Velcro my phone and my stylus and my altimeter right to that. It just makes it easy.
Oh, that sounds like an awesome idea. I've been trying to figure out what to do with that thing, or to get a flight deck. I might as well just get a reserve and use it as that.
Yeah, you could use it as a flight deck, you know. That's the thing. If you have everything right there, you're not having to worry at times, like, you know, about reaching around in your non-throttle hand and grabbing it from the side and pulling it. It's like right there in front of you. You're always looking at the handle, you know.
Eric,
that is true.
Eric in the chat says, I don't know if my round is reserve or square yet. I haven't opened it yet.
Yeah,
but
hopefully never have to.
Yeah, mine is exactly 2 years old. As a new reserve is due for its first check. So I have been talking with people for a while now about us trying to do some sort of reserve simulator off of a zip line or something. I mean, we got to get something like that going, man. I mean, I hate to just hang myself in a harness and throw it with a fan going to see if it opens. But I really don't know what else to do. I mean, I got to send it off to be checked, and I want to, you know, do a simulated toss before I send it off to be repacked. So, I mean, what can we do? You know,
you can do a SIV and pull it on the SIV.
Yeah,
I tried that. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah. When I did SIV, it was over saltwater, and that was the only thing we didn't do. Because, Fabul's attitude was he thought it was a very benign maneuver, and that, opening it in salt water, then we have to wash it out, so that was the only thing we didn't do. I incidentally did wind up going into the water, but it wasn't because of my own mistake or anything. There was a tow line failure. So I wound up drifting down and landing in the ocean all the same. So inevitably my wing and the reserve and my harness and everything else had to get washed out in the river. And that was a whole fiasco, man.
I guess I'm glad I landed in freshwater with gators then. That sounds a lot better.
Right.
Yeah. I'm glad I used somebody else's reserve also, and a different wing. I didn't use my own, so that was really nice.
Yep. I went in with my brand new Luna at the time. I was so pissed. I was so pissed. Yep.
Dude, I had 4 flights on my Spider when I put it in the sink. But oh well.
Yeah.
Did you catch a fish with it? Did you catch a fish with it? No.
My name's not David Ruff. I can't catch fish from one wing, so or David Wolf, I think.
Yeah, David Wolf.
Yeah, that'd be so funny.
You fell so gracefully though, Brian.
Yeah, it was.
It was graceful. Loved it. It's I mean, you got a couple of things in your backpack that are making you famous. I mean, you just do some amazing things that keep you famous. I mean, every year I'm scared. What's going to happen next year?
No, there's nothing else going to happen. I'm not knocking on wood. No, man, I'm going to put out a video soon. I got a couple of videos I'm going to put out. One of them's about my experience getting into training with people to fly. And another one's about, being an expert at the hay bale slalom and how to do it properly and how not to do it. Because after I broke my leg on that hay bale, that was actually the first time I did the hay bale slalom ever when I broke my leg. And, man, I've done it like 30 times since. I've got some good video of me getting down there low. And, yeah, there's a video coming soon when I can find some time to process. That's always an issue. Mm-hmm. But, I got lots of good video to put together. I just got to put it together.
Yep, I say that all the time. Time, man. Although I have to say, it's like if I didn't travel in the winter to a tropical place, that's all I'd have to do. Because in Eugene, it's like it's constantly raining in Oregon. So I'm not flying. I sometimes wonder, honestly, on the note of like all the controversy that we see in the paramotor groups and all the drama. I always kind of joke. It's like, man, you guys got to put the freaking computer away and just get on a plane and go somewhere where it's flyable, because people have way too much time on their hands, arguing about menial crap,
Yeah, I don't even look at that stuff. I don't even have time for that. And I go out and fly. I'm doing something. I'm designing. I'm talking with paramotor buddies or flying with paramotor buddies. And I don't care about paramotor drama. I don't want to deal with that. That's just ridiculous.
I don't understand it.
I don't either. It's like, go out and fly. What's going on here? Just go fly.
Yeah, or make videos, like I was saying. Like,
I know, right? jump on here and do a podcast, or just jump on and get together and talk with friends and have a good time, man. That's what this stuff is all about, is to go out and have fun, meet new friends, and just love the sport, and talk to
share with others, man.
Yeah, share with others, absolutely.
Yeah.
I helped some people kite some wings that had never kited a wing before, and 2 of them already signed up for a class. I mean,
nice.
There's going to fly-ins, making videos is kind of secondary to me. To me, is hanging out with the people and flying. Like today, I went flying with Dad, stuff like that. If I'm not putting out videos, it's because I'm out living life. And
exactly.
That's where it's at. I try to make time on Mondays and whatnot to be on this show, but when I'm not here, it's because I'm out flying and living my dreams.
Yep.
So live it up, man. Forget about the haters and do what you can and be a good steward of the sport. And man, the sport's really been a blessing back to me. with that attitude, you know.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I feel the same way. It's like this has totally changed my life, the direction of my life and how I feel about life. So paramotors is everything I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to do paramotors the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep. For me, it's one of those things. There's like a handful of things that keep me in the present.
Yes.
And especially with all the chaos in the world that we're all dealing with on multiple levels. For me, I had this experience once where I was out in a field at like 6 o'clock in the morning, a light fog on the field, waiting for things to clear, dew on the grass, beautiful mountains. All I could hear is birds chirping. And, you know, when we first learn to start a paramotor, you're supposed to yell, clear prop, you know. And for me, there was nobody else around. I got in the habit of saying that anyway. And for me, it was like, started up the paramotor and it should have been clear mind, because the minute that prop started spinning, there was nothing else except me and the prop and the gorgeous surroundings. And then you get up in the air, right means you go right, left means you go right. The surroundings are absolutely gorgeous. And all you have is that present moment. There's nothing else to think about. You know, it's just the experience you're in right then. And that's, for me, that's where I want to live. You know?
Exactly.
I try in everything I do to try to stay present, because it's too easy to get it trapped in your mind, you know, all the things that have happened or could potentially happen that are bad. So always marking things to look forward to, and flying is definitely every experience. It's what's they saying, like, we can all say that every flight we ever have is the best flight we've ever had, you know, because it's, you know, there's always something in every flight that is just a completely magic moment. You can fly the same terrain again and again and again, and there's always something that you experience that is just mind-blowing, you know, at some course within that time.
Exactly. And also, to anybody that's watching this or listening to this, the next time you go and start your motor, say clear prop TV.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's right.
You know,
TV.
my first engine out was an accident. It was like flight 170 or something. I was too scared to hit that kill switch before then. And so since then, I've hit the kill switch several times from like 500,000 feet, done dead stick landings, recranks, that kind of thing. You know what I say when I recrank my engine? I'm in the air all by myself.
What's that?
Clear prop TV?
Clear prop.
Yeah.
It's just a habit, man. It's like, you know, nobody's around, but you say it because, you know, you're about to crank the engine. That's what you're supposed to say.
Yep. Yeah, I was
It
just
puts you in that mental frame of mind too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, clearing your mind, clearing the prop, making sure it's safe. You know, I always used to joke that, you know, when I first started seeing paramotors, I was like, man, you're wearing a Cuisinart on your back. You know, it's making contact with that prop. That's the end. You know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until, you know, I don't know, a couple months in that I really fathomed the idea that, you know, with the exception of a video I saw recently of a guy, you know, getting his hand in the prop, you know, behind him. Did you guys see that video? I think I lost a finger, but my point is that I never thought that was the case, that once you're wearing the motor on your body, you're not going to ever make contact with the prop. So it just felt that much safer at that point.
Yeah, I think I saw the video that you're talking about where he lost a finger.
Yeah, somehow he reached around or might have gotten a line caught in his prop or something. But I never thought that was possible, that you could actually reach behind the cage in the position where you're wearing the motor.
Did you see the Vanlander's question, Sean? That would be something you could.
What's the question?
It's regarding the lap mount versus the side mount. The throw angle has no benefit of either lap or side mount. Oh, in other words, is there a benefit or not to one or the other?
Oh, as far as, so the way I clip, okay, so I have my main glider into one set of carabiners on my paramotor. Okay. Then I have my reserve here connected to my straps here that are underneath the straps to a different set of carabiners. So if this thing collapses and I pull this out left or right at any angle, it's going to come out this way and come up, you know, where the main chute would be behind. So as far as I know, I haven't thrown it yet. As far as I know, no matter where I am, I can throw with my left or right because the carabiners are on my straps here and not using the straps or the carabiners that my main glider is on. I think that I should be all right. I don't know. We'll find out if whenever I have a collapse and I'm going down and I'm like, there's nothing else to do other than throw this. We'll find out what happens, and I'll tell you if I can steer the damn thing. I don't know yet. I haven't thrown it, and I really don't want to because that sounds scary.
The one thing you mentioned was, I guess, in terms of advantage or disadvantage to one or the other, if you have it in front of you, theoretically, you could grab it with either hand.
Or both hands. Just both hands.
Exactly, despite the throttle being in your hand. Whereas if it's on your non-throttle side, you're going to be grabbing it with the non-throttle hand.
Right.
You know, you're not going to be reaching across and throwing it that way.
And what are all look at all the different things that could happen. What happens if your prop shreds or something, right? And I don't know, somehow your hand gets zapped or something, or your throttle gets sucked into the back, right? So now your throttle hand gets sucked back. I mean, how are you going to get to your reserve if it's on the other side? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, there's just so many different reasons that I chose to get one of the lap ones, is because what happens if, my hand gets numb? What happens if my hand gets caught up in a line? I mean, if I'm doing acro or something and the lines go slack, what happens if they get wrapped around a hand? I don't think any of this stuff is going to happen, but I'm thinking to myself, what's the best way to go? And I thought a steerable one that's on my lap would be the safest one. I do want to get one that's on the side eventually. But as of right now, the only time I ever do any maneuvers is at an SIV course. I don't do maneuvers when I'm out, flying around. When I fly, it's like, I want to go on a cross country. I want to go from here to there. I want to check out this new place. I want to come around and look at this, maybe some small wing overs or something. But, after going through the SIV courses and having brand new wings, all right, and then doing acro on them, in 1 year, I stretched out my lines so bad that I had to replace the lines.
Yeah.
And if you do heavy acro, and you have a brand new wing and you spit out $25 or $35, $100 on a brand new wing, and now you got to spend another $100 or $700 to replace the lines every year. I mean, that gets really expensive. So after my first two wings, my third wing, it's like, I'm not doing any acro on this booger. I'm just going to go up. I'm going to fly. I'm going to have a good time. And that thing will last me for 2 years without having to worry about my lines being stretched.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's all.
Yeah. For $700.
Yes, sir.
Now go ahead, Jarrod.
Well, I was just thinking about the steerable reserve thing again, in terms of, like, theoretically, if you throw a reserve and you depower your main wing, what you're supposed to do is grab the wing and reel it in, and then you've got this giant bundle on your lap.
No, not a lap. You just need a stall ball. Just need to pull it in and have it being a big stall ball. You don't need to pull it on your lap. As long as it's not, as long as it doesn't, inflate. So if you just pull it in and it's a big stall ball in front of you, that's really all you need.
Well, I guess the question was then, if you're holding it like this, how are you going to steer your steerable?
No, you just pull it all in. All of your lines can be on one hand.
I see. And then
now you're steering. All your lines are one hand. You got a big stall ball.
Okay.
Or you're able to pull it in, tuck it underneath, and then go back up, whatever it is, as long as it's not, floating around and doesn't deploy and cause
drag you in one direction.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, then how are you going to light your cigarette?
Yeah, right.
with a Zippo, they're windproof.
Yeah.
Or more.
It's a Zippo.
Yeah.
More importantly, he's got to take that selfie while he's plummeting to the earth.
Yeah. There you go. Good
That's
content.
why you have a 360 on at all times to capture that going,
Oh,
oh shit!
Oh yeah, and
Chink,
your wing when
chink,
you're
chink,
reeling
chink,
it in,
right there, right?
it's wrapped around the selfie stick. You know, you just pull the selfie stick in, and you got your main wing on the selfie stick.
Yeah, I'm telling you, things that I don't want to happen.
Yeah,
Hey.
serious.
So one thing I would add to the advantage of having the reserve on the side versus the front, in training, I was taught that you always want your throttle in your dominant hand if you're flying with a side reserve. So if you're right-handed, you want a right-handed throttle. I'm sorry, if you're right-handed, you want a left-handed throttle.
Yeah.
So your right hand is open.
Right.
To throw your reserve.
Right.
Of course, I am totally backwards with that. I'm left-handed, and I fly with a left-handed throttle because that's what they all came as, and that's what I get used to. But the idea is that if you get stuck down, on a spiral or something like that, and you have a hard time reaching across to one side, the chest center mount is always the way to go.
Yeah.
Because no matter where your throttle hand is, you can always get to it. So, yeah. So I think Sean's probably got the best bet. I mean, if you're going to be flying acro, doing these big things, you need two reserves, and one of them needs to be a chest mount.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, and also like somebody was telling me, two reserves, generally you might have a full weight reserve, like a heavy duty reserve, and then you could get other reserves that pack a lot smaller and lighter for a second reserve.
Yeah, I mean, remember Woody Gamertag? He went down. His first reserve didn't go, and he had to pull his other reserve.
Yep.
I
remember seeing that.
I would not want to be in that where you see that your canopy is just, in rags. You throw it and it goes into it, and you're like, oh crap! Now I'm just going down. I wish I had another one.
Yep, that's good. Well, yeah. I mean, he's a dedicated acro pilot, though.
But that's the reason why I have. I mean, you can go up on a tow machine and do acro. I mean, you can go to SIV course. They're not that expensive. They're like $400 a day, and all the tows that you usually can do in a day. Yeah. So I mean, they're not that expensive, and to be able to go up and practice these maneuvers and know that, if something goes wrong, you throw a reserve and you're going to go into some nice water and get picked up. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
So. I know that we talked a lot about how to do things on this podcast, but just so everyone knows, we're not teaching you how to do this or telling you to go do this and this is how to do it. We're telling you what we've done, but we recommend you going to see a professional and preferably an SIV course where you can do all these things and do them safely with a qualified instructor.
100%.
We're definitely not encouraging people to self-train off YouTube. We're trying to help people. All of us have made mistakes, no matter how good our training was. And I think most of us on this panel are the type of people that put those mistakes out there so we can all learn from it. I know for sure that most of us are. And, that's where it's at. I mean, I was talking about, doing wing overs versus going in and doing that full barrel roll. And I think the most important thing you said there was baby steps.
Yeah.
Just slow baby steps, progression, feeling yourself. You're going to make those slow progressions, and then sometimes you're going to get a little light in that wing. You're going to back off like, oh, I need to approach that a little differently. Yeah. And, that's that inner conscience of yours telling you to back off, and you better listen to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, that's the end of my rant.
Yeah.
Now fly with a reserve, get proper training.
Yep, exactly. And in terms of do things when you're ready to do them, and make sure that you're completely committed and being present when you're doing them. Nothing reckless. Like if you're not ready, if you don't feel it, don't do it.
Exactly.
But just check in with yourself. That's one of the other things that we learn when we first start to, fly. One of the number one rules is, or number one lessons is, learn when not to fly. And an intuitive sense is part of that. It's not just the weather. It's like, something's off today. I didn't sleep well enough. I'm then not in a great mood. My head's not in it. Even though the weather's great, maybe it's not the best thing for me to do today.
There's been many times I've gone out to the airport, unpacked everything, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel it. Or I blow a couple launches and I'm like, I'm okay. I'm going to go home and watch YouTube videos on flying a paramotor. I don't need to go out and fly right now. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And I still don't know what. I still don't know what. There's been times that I've gone out there and I've blown 3 launches in a row and I'm like, what is going on? I know everything's right. I kited this wing. I prepped everything. Why is not, I don't know. Maybe it's this. Pack up. It doesn't bother me a bit. Go home.
Yep.
Anybody else do that?
Oh yeah. Many times. Yeah. What Joe used to teach us was if you blow 3 in a row, stop, take a break, take off a layer, go get a drink of water, relax, catch your breath. There's no rush. You should, when accidents happen, it's usually because for some reason you're super anxious, you're super charged, you don't do a pre-flight check, you exhaust yourself, you're not thinking straight. It's just it's so much more important to be completely present and ready to do what you are trying to do.
100% agree, man. I mean, I think most of us, if we were to go out to the field by ourselves, there's nobody else around, and we get that feeling, we'll probably cancel that flight. We probably won't go. Where it gets you in trouble is where you're with all your buddies and they're getting up in the air. They've got more experience than you do. Their bump tolerance is way higher than yours is. And you're not quite feeling it. And they go flying and you push yourself to get up there anyway. And I think that's where you can get in trouble. You can have flights you're not happy with, definitely be too bumpy for you. I've been in that situation a couple times and I'm pretty good at not, I guess they call it peer pressure, or you want to call it, whether you put it on yourself or somebody else puts it on you, that's what it is. And
I think they call it para pressure.
Para pressure. That's the opposite of para waiting. It's para going, and it can get you in trouble, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I've said those very words too. I'm just not Brian. When we were flying at the nice grass strip in central North Carolina, I just wasn't feeling it that day, and I decided not to fly. I had a good time watching everyone else fly, but I wasn't feeling it, so I didn't do it. But I was going somewhere with that, and I lost my train of thought. That ever happened to you?
Oh, all the time. What was that?
oh, that's what it was. I was talking, this is probably a couple of months ago. There was a newer pilot, and we were flying as a group, not going anywhere. It was just a group of us tooling around. And the conditions were less than perfect. I mean, perfectly comfortable for me. I was okay flying in those conditions. But the pilot said, well, I gotta learn how to do it sometime. And I was thinking about that on the way home. And the fact of the matter is, no, you don't. You don't have to do anything. I mean, this is a sport. I got into the sport to enjoy it. And if you're the kind of person that just likes smooth butter air, cool. There's no problem with it. So there's no reason to push it, unless you want to fly in those kind of conditions. And then, so the feeling of, I can't remember, peer pressure, or that peer pressure can also be pressure from yourself, thinking that you have to do it.
Right.
Anyways, that's the end of my rant, Brian.
Yeah, and when I was talking to one of my first students up, earlier this week, somebody else was up flying, and I could tell he was trying to, get up there and be with him to get his first flight with one of his instructors. And I said, just slow down, take your time, go through all the steps, and forget about everybody else, and just be you and your equipment, and be safe. And he did. He slowed down and he got up in the air, no problem, and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think we are all can be our worst critics, and we can pressure ourselves probably as bad or worse as other people pressure us to go flying, because we've all had those friends, say, hey man, if it's not for you today, don't worry about it, and they're sincere and they mean it, but we push ourselves to go anyway.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I can say all the lines I've ever sliced have likely or mostly been for times when I've been rushing to get up in the air, the wind switches and I'm too lazy to unclip or to readjust my wing to take off into the wind. And next thing I know, the wing goes sideways and I make a line and it's like, oh, well, there goes the sunset. It would have taken me literally 2 minutes to reset and I would have been able to go, but I was too anxious, and too much of in a rush to do it. So.
And luckily that just became a valuable lesson that you learned, from instead of, an accident. So.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, guys, I'm going to have to run. Hey, I got a bell.
Good, man.
Well, it is after 9 o'clock. This is a lot longer than I was expecting. So let's go ahead and say goodbye. Brian, go ahead and say your goodbyes first. And how do we get up with you, buddy?
Well, first off, I was just going to say, Jarrod, you're an incredible guest, man. You have this huge wealth of knowledge. I wish we could just do multiple shows and carry on because I feel like we can learn a lot more from you. You got a cool location you fly. I've been over there, and it sounds like you get to do some really cool adventure trips. You should definitely look up One Up Adventures.
I will, for sure.
Check them out, man. They can help you do what you're trying to do. But if you want to check out my YouTube videos, you can look at ppgbrian.com.
Okay,
Thanks
I will do that.
Fearless leader Sean Symons, PPG Grandpa, gave us all our own PPG websites, and it makes it easy. But this is a great sport. I've got a lot of great friends in this sport because of Sean and his show and whatnot. There's nothing I enjoy more than going to fly-ins and meeting these people and working with new students and seeing the reaction on the student's face when they get that first landing and that first flight under their belt. That's something I think I'm gonna enjoy for a long time, man.
Oh yeah, that's the best, man.
Yeah,
it is. That's kind of where it's at for me now. But yeah, it's the best way to get high, man. Y'all need to get Paramotors. They will change your life.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us, Brian. Hopefully we'll catch you again soon.
All right, man.
Cool.
Peace.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care, man. Stay in touch.
Brian.
Peace out, buddy. So, Jarrod, any other words of wisdom or anything else like that before we head on out? Any other thing that you'd like to say that maybe you haven't said?
Well, I am, first of all, very grateful for the opportunity to join you guys and have this conversation. It was great. I honestly didn't expect it to go that long either, but I really enjoyed everybody and, the feedback's been terrific. So yeah, maybe do it again. And for sure, I hope to catch you guys at a fly-in. Is anybody planning or thinking about going to Salton Sea in February from where you guys are?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to do maybe bad apples again and something else probably, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, at some point, I hope we get a chance to cross paths and fly together,
Absolutely, bud.
But yeah, as far as words of wisdom or futuresque things, I'm at the point where I'm, like I said, I'm about to invest in this trike. I want to do tandems. I'm playing around with doing a more official school, so I'll keep you posted on that when I get that all together and, try to rally some people here in the Northwest. I have, I'm not sure if you know Morgan Yobert. He'd probably be a really good guy to get on the show as well. He just started Rise Paramotor in Bend, Oregon, and he's a terrific pilot. He's also training acro. He's totally got his stuff together.
Cool.
But yeah, I'll definitely keep you posted. And as things come together for me and I dive deeper into the sport, I will be very psyched to talk to you guys about what my experiences are and learn from everybody.
Well, awesome. Now you are on our guest chat. So any Monday that we jump on, you can jump on anytime with us and just be on the panel.
Absolutely.
Cool. Right,
and
Yeah,
you can ask the next guest questions and stuff like that. I mean, that's how we get our panel is just from past guests.
Cool.
So we do. We just hang out and share stories. And I don't fly, but I'm telling you, every time I go, like I found you, Jarrod. I watch videos and everything, and I was very impressed with the videos and everything that you do and your energy and all that. And that's why that's why I said, come on our show. Come on,
Yeah,
we need,
no, that was awesome. I really appreciate
join
you
us.
reaching out.
And yeah, and thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. But real quick, see, my son, Robert Michaels, he has a show on Thursday nights. I don't know if you've seen it yet, paraglidingtalk.com. So on Thursdays, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
And he flies at Torrey Pines a lot.
Okay.
In San Diego. So you said you were talking about flying, like beach flying and off the coast and everything.
Yep.
It's a very popular, really cool place to fly.
Oh yeah, Torrey Pines. I've had a couple friends who've gone down there, and I guess they were telling me about how you have to get a site briefing, and you have to have your rating, and you could do, ratings, like a crash course for ratings, but you have to understand, because it's a pretty active USPA HPA site, that you have to know the rules to fly there and join the club kind of thing.
I'll have to hook you up with Robert, and he can give you all the details on that,
Cool.
As far as ratings and all that. I know nothing about that. I just hang out with you guys and hang out on Robert's show and follow all the shows, and that's what I call it, Paramount,
Awesome.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool place. And then he flies at Blossom too. And in San Diego, and that's a beautiful place. Blossom Valley.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'm hoping to head down to Salton Sea in February. That was the break I was going to take. So if I'm in that area, by San Diego, maybe I'll connect.
Yeah, Robert was he was talking about flying there. So yeah, but I'll send you the link of a show on Thursday.
Okay.
Check it out.
Cool.
Thank you, Jarrod. Like I said, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. And in case Jarrod doesn't know, and just in case you're new out there listening to us or watching us here, every Monday night on clearproptv.com, we have this, also called PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast, on any of your favorite audio podcasting apps, including Audible, Amazon Music, and Amazon. If you search for PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast, we come up. The audio, it's awesome. If you want to listen to another podcast on Tuesday, on the first Tuesday of every month, you go to ppgshane.com, and Shane does a paramotor hangout. The rest of the month, you can go to ppglear.com on Tuesdays and listen to the paramotor hangout. We also on Wednesday have an all-female podcast from Flying Flamingo Jade, and you can find her at paramotorgirl.com on Wednesdays. And of course, on Thursdays, we got paraglidingtalk.com.
That's right.
So that's all the podcasts that are out there, except there's one across the pond, the Fat Paramotor Podcast, which you can find if you search for the Fat Paramotor Podcast on Google. You can also find them on Amazon and Audible also, just like us, which is really cool. All right. We also got Jim up in Canada that does all of our printing for us and hooks us up, that helped us make all those paramotor calendars. You can find us over at the paramotorcalendar.com. Order yours now. Thank you, Jim, for hooking us up and helping us print those. How do we get up with your printing shop, sir?
You can check me out at carepp.com and through email, or give me a call. All my contact information is there. And I've got a YouTube channel as well, courtesy of PPG Grandpa, the careppg.com.
That's awesome. All your crazy shenanigans. What flight are you up to? I know that you're almost at 100 the last time we talked.
I think 93 or 94 now.
All right. Woo-hoo! Let us know when you cross that 100 mark. That's pretty awesome. That's heck of a landmark, or a air mark. I don't know, whatever. It's pretty awesome. Well, thank you, Jim, for helping us out with all that. carepp.com and careppg.com. We also got Will Fly at willflyppg.com. Tell us about all your shenanigans and what you do, brother man.
Right. Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you very much, Jarrod. I thoroughly enjoyed the show, so I appreciate you coming on, man. And like Ryan was saying earlier, flying has become secondary, really, to all the great people I've met in this sport. So it's just been awesome.
Awesome.
You can find me on YouTube. I'm Will Fly, or willflyppg.com. That'll take you to YouTube also.
Cool.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to get up with us and want to be on the show, make sure you hit up paramomusa.com, which brings you over to Linda Anderson's Facebook page. And she's also our cheerleader, our PR chick. I mean, she's just everything. So we definitely appreciate her. If you want to get up with me, you can always find me at iflyparamotors.com. Wow, that is like the coolest. Hey, iflyparamotors.com. I need to make a bumper sticker or something. That's so cool, right? Paramotors. And of course, I'm PPG Grandpa, and you can find me at ppggrandpa.com. Anyways, thank you very much for watching us. Jarrod, thank you, dude. Thank you for hanging out with us for almost 2.5 hours on the podcast. This is one of our longest podcasts we've had in a very long time. So, I mean, you just made it flow. Normally it's like, all right, try to do about an hour. And, another hour went by and an hour and a half. Dude, you just a wealth of knowledge, so much information. Definitely want you to come back anytime that you want to and hang with us on the show here. I mean, if you just want to be on the panel and not say anything, just be on the show. That's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. I will definitely check in for sure.
Cool.
Awesome.
And like I said, as things progress for me, I'm playing around with Sky Monkey PPG. A friend of mine said they like watching me fly. I'm like a little monkey in the sky, so I think I might go with that.
That's cool.
But as it progresses, that'll be more of a thing. And then for the meantime, if anybody wants to reach me, just Jarrod Kaplan PPG works. As I told you guys before we started recording, my YouTube is kind of all over the place. I think I've got probably 50 videos out, but they're splayed between Jarrod Kaplan PPG, Jarrod Kaplan spelled different ways. But you can find me on YouTube. My thing has been making videos more like music videos as opposed to, monetizing videos using generic music, because I generally like to edit to the music that I apply to, or, music that suits the mood of the flight. So they're all over the place, but as they come together, I'll let you guys know how to reach me in a way that's more consolidated.
Absolutely. And I also got your YouTube link in the show notes down below. So anybody should be able to just click that and make sure you go there, subscribe. I mean, at the very beginning of this show, you had 66 subscribers. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification. So when he starts putting up these videos, you're like, oh, I'm there, dude. I got you. All right. Anything else before we head on out and about?
Good.
All right. So we're going to end this real quick, but you guys don't go anywhere. After we kill the live feed, we're going to talk for a couple minutes and hang out. So anyways, thank you very much for joining us here on PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast. If you're searching for us on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app, of course, every Monday night, find us at clearproptv.com or listen to us at paratalk.org. Jarrod, thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you,
we appreciate you very, very much, and we will see you tomorrow. Will, where are we going to meet this? I just saw on the chat that it's is it going to be Will Fly PPG? Is that where the chat's going to be?
No, it's going to be, you said it right the first time.
It's at ppglear, lear.com tomorrow?
Yes, it is.
All right. And then Wednesday, we're going to go to paramotorgirl.com, and then Thursday, paraglidingtalk.com. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Oh,
Peace out. Don't go nowhere, guys.